Have you ever woken up to a world that seems to spin on without you, while you're frozen, stuck in a fog you can't name? It's not just exhaustion or sadness, it's deeper, heavier, like a scream trapped in your chest, silent but deafening. You look in the mirror and wonder, who am I? Why can't I just keep going like everyone else? If this feels like you, take a breath. That weight, that void you call depression, might not be what you've been told. What if it's not a disease, but a calling? A call from your soul, urging you to dive into the depths of yourself and rediscover something you've lost. Today, we're journeying into that darkness together, guided by Carl Jung's The Red Book, to uncover a truth. What you see as depression might be the spark of your awakening. Stay with me, and I promise you'll see that weight in a new light, not as a foe, but as a map to your rebirth. Picture this. It's 2 a.m. and you're staring at the ceiling, the world outside humming with life, cars honking, notifications pinging, people chasing deadlines. But inside you, there's a stillness, a grayness that drains the color from everything. You've tried to explain it, maybe to a friend, saying, "I'm just down," or "I'm tired," but you know it's more. It's like life has lost its taste, like you're living in a faded photograph of who you used to be. The worst part? You feel alone in it, as if no one else could understand this invisible burden. But here's the truth, you're not alone. Millions carry this same weight, this same quiet ache. And it's not because you're broken or because you failed. It's because something inside you is stirring, begging to be heard. Carl Jung, the man who plunged deeper into the human psyche than perhaps anyone, didn't see this darkness as a dead end. In the Red Book, he chronicled his own descent into a personal abyss, a crisis that forced him to face the shadows of his mind. For Jung, depression wasn't just a disorder, it was a signal, a cry from the soul demanding attention. He wrote, "The spirit of the depths forced me to speak to my soul, to call upon her as a living and self-existing being." Imagine that for a moment. What if the emptiness you feel isn't a flaw, but a message? What if, instead of running from it, you listened? It's terrifying, I know. Who wants to dive into a place so dark, so unknown? But Jung did exactly that, and what he found wasn't destruction, it was transformation. He called it individuation, the journey to become your true self. Your depression, that heavy fog, might just be the first step on that path.
Let's linger here. Have you ever felt that weight so intensely that it seemed to pull you out of the world? Maybe it was a morning when you opened your eyes but couldn't find a reason to get up, or a night when a song brought back a memory of a time when you felt alive, but now it's a distant echo. That's your soul knocking, Jung would say, refusing to let you keep wearing the mask you've built for the world. He called this mask the persona, the face you show to fit in, to be the good worker, the reliable friend, the perfect partner. But the more you cling to that mask, the further you drift from yourself, the core of who you are. And when that gap grows too wide, the emptiness creeps in, whispering, "You can't keep pretending." Why does this happen? Why, in a world overflowing with distractions, social media, streaming, endless goals, do we still feel so lost? Jung believed it's because we've strayed from our purpose. We're taught to chase external markers of success, money, status, approval, but rarely asked, what makes your heart sing? Why are you here? When those markers fail to fill the void, the soul rebels. Jung's contemporary, Viktor Frankl, echoed this in his own way. Having survived the Holocaust, Frankl wrote in Man's Search for Meaning, the existential vacuum is a widespread phenomenon of the 20th century. That vacuum, he said, comes from living without purpose. Depression, then, isn't just a chemical imbalance, it's a sign you're living a life that isn't yours. So, why is it so hard to hear this call? Because facing it means stepping into the unknown, what Jung called the shadow, the parts of yourself you've buried. Your shadow isn't evil. It's the dreams you abandoned, the fears you hid, the desires you pushed down to fit in. When depression hits, it's your shadow knocking, saying, "You can't ignore me anymore." It's not trying to break you, it's trying to make you whole. But facing it takes courage. Think of a time you felt this void. Maybe scrolling through social media, seeing everyone's perfect lives, and feeling a pang of inadequacy. That's your persona cracking, your shadow demanding to be seen. Jung would urge you to listen, not run.
Here's a story to make this real. Meet Emma, a woman in her late 20s who seemed to have it all: a steady job, a circle of friends, a life that looked right on paper. But every night, she'd sit alone, staring at her phone, feeling a hollowness she couldn't explain. She'd post smiling selfies, but inside, she was unraveling. One day, exhausted by the pretense, she picked up a journal and wrote, "Why do I feel like I'm living someone else's life?" That question, raw and unfiltered, was her first step into the darkness. Inspired by Jung, she began asking herself what she'd buried: her childhood dream of painting, her fear of being too much, her longing for a life with more meaning. It wasn't easy, but that act of listening changed her. She started small, painting again, talking to a therapist, and slowly the fog began to lift. Emma's story shows what Jung meant. The way out of the dark is through it. So how do you start? Jung's The Red Book is a guide, not just for him, but for all of us. He used a practice called active imagination, dialoguing with his unconscious as if it were a living being. You don't need to go that far, but you can begin with something simple. Grab a notebook and write what you feel, without judgment. Ask, what is this emptiness trying to tell me? What have I been avoiding? Let the words flow, messy and raw. They're a flashlight in the dark, illuminating what's been hidden. Another practice is creating rituals to reconnect with yourself. Jung believed symbols and rituals bridge the conscious and unconscious. Try lighting a candle each night and asking, "What do I truly want?" Or take a walk in nature, phone off, letting the silence speak. These small acts are like planting seeds in the soil of your soul. Let's pause again. Have you ever felt like your thoughts are a secret you're scared to share? Like if you spoke your truth, the world would turn away? That's the weight of the shadow, but it's also the spark of your awakening. Jung believed that depression is a universal experience, a piece of the collective unconscious, the shared reservoir of human fears, dreams, and stories. When you feel that void, you're not just wrestling with your own pain, you're touching something ancient, something every human has faced. And that's what makes it a doorway, not a dead end. It's your invitation to the hero's journey, the archetype Jung saw in myths and dreams, the story of facing the unknown to find your truth. Why does this feel so personal yet so universal? Because, as Jung wrote, the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of its parents. Every time you suppress a dream, every time you choose safety over truth, you add to that burden. Depression is the weight of those unlived lives, yours
and those before you, crying out for resolution. But it's also an opportunity. Jung's The Red Book is a testament to this. He faced his own darkness, dialoguing with visions and dreams, and emerged with a map for individuation. That map isn't just for him, it's for you. It says that the emptiness isn't your enemy, it's your guide. How do you answer this call? First, stop fighting the void. Instead of numbing it with distractions, scrolling, binge-watching, overworking, sit with it. Ask, what are you here to teach me? Write the answers, even if they're messy. Second, create space for your soul. Jung believed rituals ground us in the eternal. Try writing a letter to yourself, asking, what do you need me to see? Or set aside 5 minutes each day to reflect in silence, maybe with a symbol like a stone or a candle to anchor you. These acts don't erase the pain, but they transform it into a path. Now, let's address the fear. Facing the shadow feels like stepping into a storm. You might uncover anger you've buried, dreams you've abandoned, or truths you're not ready to face. That's okay. Jung didn't face his shadow in a day, and neither will you. The key is to start small. One question, one journal entry, one moment of honesty. Frankl's wisdom helps here. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. Your depression is the stimulus. Your choice to listen is the response. That choice is where your power lies. Let's go deeper still. Jung believed that depression often comes when we're living out of alignment with ourself. The self isn't your ego. It's the totality of who you are, light and shadow, dreams and fears. When you live only for the external world, your job, your relationships, your image, you starve the self. The result? That hollow ache. But here's the beauty. That ache is a signal, a compass pointing you back to your core. Jung wrote, man's inner life is the secret life. Your inner life, your dreams, your fears, your unspoken desires is where your truth lives. Depression is the knock on that door, urging you to open it. What happens when you do? You start to see the world differently. Colors return, not all at once, but slowly. You might notice a sunset and feel a spark of wonder you thought was lost. Or you might find yourself drawn to a new passion, a book, a hobby, a conversation that feels like it's been waiting for you. Jung called this the alchemical process, turning the lead of suffering into the gold of meaning. It's not about fixing depression. It's about transforming it into a journey toward wholeness. Let's reflect. When was the last time you felt that spark of aliveness, even for a moment? Maybe it was a fleeting memory, a song, a dream that stirred something deep. That's yourself reminding you it's still there. Jung believed these moments are glimpses of the eternal, proof that you're more than your pain. The challenge is to hold on to them, to build a bridge between the darkness and the light. It's not easy. The world will keep pulling you toward distraction, toward shallow fixes. But every time you choose to listen to your soul, you take a step toward individuation. What makes this so hard? We live in a world that fears the depths. Social media rewards quick hits of dopamine, likes, shares, viral moments. Depth takes time, and time feels like a luxury. A 2024 study from Harvard found that people spend an average of 2.5 hours a day on social media, but only 10 minutes in meaningful self-reflection. No wonder the void grows. We're drowning in noise, disconnected from our inner voice. Jung would say, this is why the collective unconscious is so restless, because we've forgotten how to listen to it. So how do you break free? Start where you are. If you're lying in bed, feeling the weight, don't force yourself to be positive. Instead, ask, what is this teaching me? If you're scrolling through your phone, feeling empty, put it down and write one sentence about what you're feeling. If you're overwhelmed by the world's demands, carve out 5 minutes to breathe and ask, what does my soul need? These tiny acts are rebellions against a world that wants you to stay distracted. They're your way of saying, I choose myself.
Let's go back to Jung's Red Book. It's not just a book, it's a record of a man wrestling with his soul. Jung faced visions of chaos, of gods and demons, and instead of running, he listened. He painted, wrote, and dialogued with these forces, not to defeat them, but to understand them. The result was a life transformed, not by escaping pain, but by embracing it. You don't need to paint like Jung, but you can borrow his courage. The next time the void calls, don't turn away. Ask it, what do you want me to see? The answer might surprise you. Here's a truth that ties this all together. Depression is universal because the human condition is universal. We all long for meaning, for connection, for a life that feels true. Jung wrote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Your depression, as painful as it is part of that privilege. It's your soul's way of saying, it's time to come home. And home isn't a place or a person, it's you, whole and unbroken, light and shadow together. So, what's your next step? Will you keep running, filling the silence with noise? Or will you pause, listen, and step into the dark? The choice is yours, but know this, that void isn't your enemy. It's a portal to yourself, to a life that's yours alone. Jung walked that path and found gold in the darkness. You can too. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this touched something in you, let's keep going together. Like this video if you've ever felt the weight of the void. Subscribe to Psikelogy to turn pain into purpose. Comment below if you've heard your soul's call, share your story, and share this video with someone who needs this truth today. Because the darkness isn't the end, it's the beginning. Together, we can find the light.